So this an L2TP session has been successfully set up between the LAC and LNS. So now you can clearly establish an L2TP connection between the LAC and LNS, and now the LAC is ready to tunnel all the PPP traffic that it received here. It's ready to tunnel them to the LNS using the L2TP connection. I hope it's clear. All right. So now that we have finished till we are done with we have done till step number 13. Now let's go to step number 14. What the LAC now has to do is it has all the users, it has the user's username and the password with it. So the LNS needs to authenticate the user. So what it does is it takes the traffic and it sends it over the L2TP tunnel to the LNS in message number 14. So the user challenge, the user response which it received here, it's just going to take that and dump it into the tunnel, and the LNS is going to receive it. What the LNS does is the packet is going to be like this. I mean, it's not going to be exactly like this. PPP IP. This is the PPP packet which the LAC has received from the user PC. The LAC, when it tunnels the traffic, it adds an additional L2TP header, which is the encapsulating header, and it sends it over to the LNS. When the LNS receives this packet, it strips the L2TP header off this and just considers this as the PPP packet, just like IPsec, where the GRE or the ESP header or the AH header are stripped and the IP packet is removed. Since layer 2 it's a L2TP, the whole thing happens in layer 2, and the internal layer 2 packet is tunneled in L2TP. So now coming to step number 14, all the user authentication information has now been passed over to the LNS, and the LNS has to go ahead and try and authenticate the user. So that's simple. It's done by passing that user either by authenticating it locally here on the LNS using its local database, or by sending over the user credentials to a Radius server, and the Radius server sends over either an access accept or an access reject to this. Now, after the LNS identifies that the user is valid, that means the user TACAC is with a password of Cisco or whatever, yeah. It sends over a pass directly to the user. It bypasses the LAC. It doesn't send this message to the LAC. It sends this message directly to the user. So when the user receives this pass message from the LNS, it doesn't even see the LAC in between. What the user keeps thinking is it's receiving, the LNS is directly connected to it and it's receiving the pass message from the LNS. But thanks to L2TP, what is actually happening is this pass message is getting encapsulated in this L2TP tunnel. It's coming to the LAC. The LAC is decapsulating it and then sending it over to the user. See, now you see how L2TP is useful? It basically makes the user blind to the fact that the LNS is sitting somewhere else on the network, and this remote subnet is now accessible by this user using this L2TP tunnel. Now, this is an optional CHAP challenge. If the LNS wants to further authenticate the user and ask some more parameters, that's optional. And after that, let me just scroll down. Hold on for a second here. All right, now that I've scrolled down, in message number 18, the LNS can ask for some optional CHAP challenge, and the CHAP challenge goes from LNS to the LAC to the user PC, and the user PC in response 19 sends over the response to the LNS, and if those are correct, LNS sends over a pass. So this is the establishment of a L2TP connection between the LAC and the LNS. Note that the the username which the user provides has two components, like I told you earlier. I'm just recapping this because this is very important. The username has a username and a domain name, or a tunnel name, and it's the both of them are separated by delimiter, which can be anything. And I think there are a list of delimiters, and we're using the symbol at because it's easy to understand, honestly. So when the LAC receives this username, and in the message number 4, when the child responds from the user PC, when the LAC receives this username, it knows that this user is trying to establish an L2TP session. If it was just sending a username of user, the L2TP, the LAC would never know that this user is trying to establish an L2TP session with the LNS. It would just consider this as a regular PPP user and set up the PPP tunnel, but then the user would never be able to access the private network. So this at symbol does the job of telling the LAC that this user is an L2TP user, and the data after this at has to be used as the tunnel or the domain name to establish an L2TP tunnel. Okay, so that's a basic of the L2TP connection setup and how it all works. And I hope you like it. And in the next video, I'm going to be demonstrating L2TP over IPsec, which is a configuration task in the CCI Security Lab, and we will be doing that on the ASA. Great. Have a nice day and have fun.